episode of the House of Lords podcast. We are your hosts. This is Nicole, and I am joined by Armani.
What's up, guys?
And Dexter.
What's going on, y'all?
And last week, we took a little break, and we are back this week with a double dose of Paint Sundays Black. So we've got Fargo, and we've got Utopia still going strong. But before we jump into those, anything else you guys been watching this week? Or these past 2 weeks, I guess, for the TV? Armani, anything good?
I just finished We Are Who We Are, which is an HBO series that just came out. HBO Max, to be specific.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty good. It is one of those shows that you kind of got to give it a couple episodes to really pick up. But once it picks up, it's reminiscent of Euphoria.
I did watch episode 1. I would give it that. I can see where you can make that Euphoria comparison. Dexter, what you been watching?
Interesting. So you said it gets good?
It does.
Okay.
It gets interesting. Because at first, it's kind of just like, why should I care about what's going on?
Yeah, I watched the first episode as well, and I decided not to go back. So maybe I will check it out. I am watching Titans right now. It's Teen Titans, the mature version of it. It's on HBO Max. I know it used to be a DC streaming service only thing, but now I guess they figured, who has the DC streaming service? Everybody has HBO Max. So, but it's dope. I know, Nick, you've seen it. Armani, have you looked at it yet? Have you seen it?
Nah, I just finished my shows.
Got you. I got you. But you used to watch the show?
I watched the original cartoon that was on. I guess I won't call it a cartoon because it was pretty, not exactly mature. Not as mature as Titans.
It was animated.
It was animated, but it was more serious because it wasn't like Teen Titans Go.
Wait, what?
You're talking about Teen Titans
things?
Yeah, Teen Titans was the original one that came on when I was, we'll say, like 2010.
And that's a cartoon?
Yeah, it's animated.
And then
Cartoon Network.
Wow, I didn't know these things. I thought it was just Teen Titans Go. I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So you said that was serious.
Yeah, it was heavy. There were a lot of heavy episodes with that.
It makes sense because this show is heavy as hell.
It was one of those like kind of late night shows, more like the Samurai Jacks of Cartoon Network.
Oh, okay. That makes sense why they decided to do this because all I know about it in Titans Go. And man, like this is dark. This is F-bombs and Robin. They let you know right that he likes blood now, and he's extremely brutal. And whatever happened to him and whatever happened to these people, all of it is hella heavy. It's well done. Check it out.
All right, nice. We start Dexter from the beginning. That's going on. I'm kind of wanting to prepare for when they bring it back, and I'm watching it and realizing why I enjoyed the show in the beginning. You know what else I watched? I watched the David Letterman interviews on Netflix. I watched a few episodes. I'd watched the Tina Fey one before. I really like Tina Fey. And I went back and watched a bunch of the other ones that were really good. So if you've bypassed that on Netflix because you're like, I don't really want to watch this, I would recommend it. Watch the Jay-Z one was good. The Kanye one was interesting. I watched the Barack Obama one was really. Barack Obama is so charismatic. Like
he's the
yeah, he interviews so well. Like he's just such a great person to want to sit there and just listen to talk. I wish he was on Michelle's podcast more because I just want to sit there and listen to Barack talk about things, anything. I don't even care.
I actually watched he's on the LeBron James show on HBO. Yeah, it's just Barack for that. It's usually it's a whole bunch of people or whatever. But I guess because it's remote, or maybe just because he's, the great Obama. You know what I'm saying? Like he's by himself.
Like,
you know what I mean? It's just him. And obviously it's remote too. So it's what's his guy? What's his friend? Maverick Carter and LeBron and Obama. That's it. You know what I mean? But it's like I don't know how long it was. I guess it was an hour of just Obama and LeBron kind of going back and forth. It's super dope.
All right. Guess I'll have to add that to the watch list today. All right. Well, jumping into Fargo, episode 7. This episode starts off with Nurse Mayflower poisoning her boss with some macaroons. She previously had asked him about what kind of desserts he liked, and we now know why. It wasn't just because she just, cared and wanted to be thoughtful with a gift. At some point, She knew she was probably going to poison this man.
This was like her third day, though.
Because she just started, yo.
Like this. What's her game here? Is what I don't understand. She don't want a job. Like,
I mean, I think she seems like a woman who probably always has an exit strategy.
exit. You just got here. Like we said.
What was oh god, what's his name? At the pink. You always know where the windows is. Yeah, because you never know when you need to turn a window into a door or whatever. She's looking. She got windows,
But she didn't need to do this.
yeah.
I'm with you. You're not the only one, because I don't understand. Like, I thought that she was gonna be the key, like the Fargo link. You know what I mean? Because there's nobody from that area on this show. It's just St. Louis. However, you know, it looks like they're gonna call in the boys from Fargo, which we'll get back to that, because that part doesn't make any sense either. However, I don't get her game either. I don't even understand her character at this. Like you said, she's been there 3 days. She begged for that job.
But she's a serial killer. Like, you can't try to make a serial killer's mindset make sense. And I also agree with her purpose on this show is singularly just to be an additional character for what's the word? She's literally just here to add a little bit more depth to the show and a little more not even controversy is not the word, but like she really serves no driving purpose in either one of these stories. Like, she serves no purpose with Calamita. It's like Lloyd, like there's no real driving force except for she's just a random additional piece of antagonism. Like, that's literally just what she is.
Seriously, you're right. You're 100% right. Maybe this is what happens when you take good television. Like, you know what they do in Power all the time? They just add stuff, and it's like, yo, what are you doing with that character? They're like, well, this is how you can tie a character into everything in the show.
For no reason.
For no reason. Like, she has her own plot line, her own storyline. However, it doesn't really make any sense. And I mean, unless she killed that little girl, which she's not, because they don't do that on TV. So it's like,
shit, if they don't,
they don't do stuff like that on TV. Yo. No, they don't do that. There's no way that they're gonna show you 8 episodes of this little girl and then kill her at the end.
But it's Fargo.
What little girl? Etherita?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, they would. I don't.
Fargo would. I believe Fargo would. And I was about to say this. We always know the one thing that we have enjoyed about this show was the fact that there's typically no real wasted plot points. Like, at the end of it, everything gets tied up with a bow. So truthfully, I have a feeling that her character was probably like season 5 is going to be the Orita Mayflower show. Like, I feel like that's probably what the setup is we're going to see either her backstory, we're going to learn how she got here. It's going to be season 5 of Fargo is going to be some weird American Horror Story nurse shit.
So does Fargo continue like that?
I mean, typically what we've seen is something obscure out of each season is then almost the main focal point of the next season. And she's the most obscure thing in the show. It's either going to be her or it's going to be Shawnee and Zelmare for season 5. Is like where I'm thinking one of those two things are good, because we didn't get any backstory on either of them, on either of those parties. We haven't got any real character development on those parties. So I feel like maybe next season that's what we might see come out of this.
Well, while I don't necessarily subscribe to it being exactly what you just said in terms of knowing what they're going to do next. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, they definitely could do that. I do agree that they probably will close out the show. You know, she probably will have a purpose at the end of the show. Like, at the end of episode 10, you will know a purpose at the end of the show. To thoroughly answer your question, Armani, the first season is about one story, and it's about a lady. And then the next season is about the lady's dad. And then the next season has somebody from the first season in the third season.
Okay.
But somebody super obscure, like she said, especially with that third tie-in. Like, the third tie-in is like its own story, but this one guy that was a big part of the first season, but not.
He wasn't the main character.
Yeah, he wasn't even like. But I think that he is the one person that they based off of the movie, and then they put him into that first season, and then he ended up in that third season as well. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that they really did. I don't think that there's anybody from like the first season that really made it past the first show. If I said that right. You know what I'm saying? Like made it past the first season of the show. Everybody, that whole thing kind of like closes up, and then they open up the new, and then they open up something new. So they go from like 2000s to like the 70s or whatever. They go back to like whatever. But yeah, I guess they'll figure. You know, I guess we'll figure it out. I guess something will happen. They ain't killing that girl. I don't know what y'all say.
I just wouldn't be surprised. I'm not gonna be surprised if it happened. All I'm saying. So previously we saw Rabbi get Satchel to safety or just out of Dodge. So Lloyd at this point is kind of pissed that he doesn't know where his son's at. He doesn't know the status of his son. He doesn't know what's going on with them. So now he's having to deal with, fuck, I gotta go face my wife. And we already had an argument about this already. And here we are. Shit she said was gonna happen, or just like, yeah. Defi questions Otis about if he's on the take. Like, what's his real motives? I think it's pretty obvious that Otis is on the take. I don't know why, like, really. So Calamita goes to Lloyd's. This scene here, Calamita's showing up on Lloyd's doorstep. The fact that he made it to Lloyd's front door and there was no security at that house, not even one guy. So, one, your youngest son's missing. Your oldest son is already, like, they've already made an attempted hit on your oldest kid. Shit is hitting the fan. Why is there no guards at your house?
And he's who he is regardless, so...
There should be a guard at that house. Like, Calamita should not be walking up Lloyd's porch. We just lost Dr. Center. I don't understand who raised him. Like, what mob stories has he been following? Because that to me was nuts. But anyway, so Calamita knocks on Lloyd's door and he asks his wife how many kids are in the house. And she's just like, you don't get the fuck off my doorstep. They have a little exchange or whatever. And she's just like, look, I don't give a fuck who you are. And do you understand about why, like, it was, I think, Mama Lions?
Yeah.
Why lions are kept in cages at zoos? It's like, it's not for their protection, it's for yours. And she pulls out a nice little sawed-off shotgun. So she's about that life, if she needs to be, clearly. But at the same time, which Calamita said, or kind of inferred, you've tipped your hand.
What do you mean?
Like, I now know that you have a gun in this house. That you have a gun that you're willing to pull out. But believe me, if you pull a gun on somebody like Calamita, you best just go ahead and fire it. Like, he's not someone that you pull a gun on and be like, and let walk away. And I feel like no one, we'll get to it when we get to season 8. Calamita's not the guy you pull a gun on and let walk off your porch.
What you mean, though? Like,
because, like,
he ain't coming back to do nothing to her. Not specifically. He's not taking that personal. She walked up to this. He's not stupid. He walked up to her house, her doorstep, and he's him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she can't be mad that she pulled a gun out on him.
Like, he didn't go there to kill her family.
No, but, like, okay, so did he go?
He went over there asking about the baby, and I'm not supposed to. He ain't finna do nothing. Not specifically for that. He may do something, period. But he ain't. So what you saying is he got a vendetta against the wife now?
I mean, he obviously has a vendetta against the whole. There's a vendetta against the whole family at this point. But it's just like,
yeah. I mean, I don't think it's as personal as I pulled the gun out on you, and now when I come back here, because if that was the case, he could have just doubled back and did what he needed to do.
I mean, but that we'll get there. We see.
So she tells him the thing about the lion. Mm-hmm. Isn't that what happened?
Yeah, I mentioned that.
You did?
Yeah.
I don't be listening.
Nope, but it's all right. So we see Lloyd's guys bringing boxes into Ethelrita's family's house, or like, I guess at this point they're using them for whatever they're using them for. Defi decides that he's going to follow Josto around because he needs to figure out what's going on here between these. Like, he, at this point, realizes that there's a lot going on in this town between these two families. And he's trying to figure out what exactly it is. And so he's following Josto around. And Josto goes and meets with Lloyd. And Josto's like, hey, so if you want some territory, let's give you some territory. Lloyd's like, nah, fuck your territory. Like, where's my kid at this point? Like, what is going on? Where's my kid? And this is when Josto unveils this plan that he has to get rid of his brother. And he tells Lloyd that his son is dead. So he tells him that his son is dead, and he tells him that his brother and Calamita were responsible for it. Look, if you got...
Did he say Calamita?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
He was like, Calamita, because when he asked him, he was like, where's Rabbi? I want to talk to him. He was like, well, he's in the wind. He tried to stop Calamita, and he couldn't, and he took off. Was how he explained Rabbi's absence. Which was good, We've been giving Josto shit. He's a punk, but he's a slight bit of a thinker.
No, he ain't.
Huh?
No, he ain't.
This wasn't the worst plan.
The last thing
feel
we just
like-
watched, and we'll talk about it in a second, is because of this particular thing that he did right here.
And I
That
feel
thing
like
right
this-
there is the reason why everything unfolded the way that it unfolded. So smart. You think that's smart? That's the reason why he lost who he lost, because of that dumb shit.
Okay, so
None of that shit is working out for him, matter of fact. None of this is working for his favor. Nothing Josto thought he was going to get is actually happening. Nothing.
Well, okay, so Jocelyn's plan was to get rid of his brother, and he figured, I'll tell Lloyd that my brother had your son killed by his right hand. 2 birds, 1 stone. That was his plan. Okay. Lloyd ends up having to go tell his wife that Satchel's gone, and she loses her shit as any mother would.
I feel like this was the definition of a setup. Like, if you know what a setup is, you'd have been like, oh, okay, he's lying. Just because of just how blatant he was like, yeah, he did it. Go ahead, kill him.
And yeah, one thing that we do see towards the end of this show is Lloyd sees a sign for a Diners Club card on the side of a building. That basically that card that he was pitching to that banker.
Mm-hmm. The credit card.
Yes. So important business point here. If you ever walk in to pitch some shit, bring a non-disclosure with you. So Otis tries to leave town, but Lloyd's guys stop him. And they take him to this place, and we see Swanee and Zelmare, who are still, like, working for Lloyd at this point. And he's like, look, y'all kind of served y'all purpose, so you might as well just leave town. At this point now, Otis knows that they are working with Lloyd, and, they're about to bounce. But Lloyd tells Otis, hey. He does tell him about his plan, or about Gaetano's plan to kill... Or no, Josh was planning to kill Gaetano. Like, Lloyd tells Otis about that. I think this was just really to plant a seed of, shit is fucked up over there. You need to pick a side. And I think that was the whole purpose of him telling Otis all that information. And at the end of the day, Lloyd ends up letting Gaetano go. Like, he knew that Josh wanted him to kill his brother. So he figures, I'm just going to let him go. I'm going to tell him his brother wanted him dead. Let him go, and then they'll take care of themselves. Don't know why I understand why he thought that was a possibility, but that was a hell of a chance to take, quite frankly.
You see how you talk about the black man?
What?
He did the same thing that white boy did. You said the white boy just smart, and he did the same exact thing, and the black guy's a doofus, huh?
Yeah, no, he should have killed that white boy. Like, you don't trust these. Like, what makes you think? Like, what makes you think that these Italians are all of a sudden gonna break years of family tradition and having their back, like having each other's backs?
Well, I mean, he just tried to kill him. He didn't have his back initially. If Gaetano wasn't crazy, I feel like this plan would have worked.
Man.
Yeah, like that was dumb. Like, he's dumb. Like, he's just a doof. That's the only reason why. And you're right. It's 100%. Like, he doesn't even, like, that way of doing the thing that he did. Like, okay, so I'm not going to go against my family. But it's like, bruh, he was about to kill you just now. He asked them to kill you. Like, he literally told that man his kid is dead and he ain't dead, just so he could have enough rage to kill you. And you come back talking about, he's the best of us. What? Okay.
I would have just killed.
But again, now I think I'll tell you when you get to that point. I think I know what's going to happen.
So episode 8, Josto, we learned at the beginning of the episode, is engaged. However, he still got his little Orita Mayflower thing going on. He ends up telling her he loves her, and she's just like, get the fuck out of my house. And she told him to go enjoy his wedding. She's like, I'm not here for this. So Gaetano returns to Josto and immediately commences to beating his little brother up. And then after he wakes up, because he knocked the shit out of him, he, makes a comment like, I was mistaken. I was saying that you were weak, and I thought you were weak and coming at you like you were weak. However, I'm the muscle and you're the chameleon. Like, you're the strategist. You told this man his kid was dead, and I see, like, you are a thinker.
And so backwards.
And I vow to protect you always. Like, I'm going to protect you, and I know my place, and I'm going to play my position. It's basically what Gaetano says to Josto. And Josto's looking like, he literally said, he's like, what's going on here? He was scared. Tells him in front of everybody. He's like, I accept this. I approve of this. And just know, if you ever betray me, the bullet's in this gunner for you. The brothers are united, which is, it was a 50-50 chance. I guess Lloyd was just, clearly Lloyd had a backup plan. Like, if this didn't go down the way I wanted it to, I got a plan B, which his plan B is Fargo. They ask him, hey, they tell him they're together. What are we going to do? And he's like, well, Fargo is what we're going to do. So here we get our real Fargo tie, which is the previous seasons of Fargo. There's a lot of mob stuff going on in Fargo, so he just calls him the Fargo mob. Let's see. Loy's wife goes to Ethelrita's house, and at first when she showed up and she was like, I'm here about my son, I thought she meant the baby's funeral. Like, that's what I initially thought she was there for. And then they start chit-chatting. Ethelrita's mom is like, hey, do you want a drink? And she's like, look, before you start pouring me drinks, I can't do nothing for you. Like, I already know where this is going to go. I can't help you. But she's, pleads her case as far as, she wants a future for her daughter. And they just want to get out from underneath, everything and be safe. And she's looking at her like, I already told you. The look on her face is like, I'm pretty sure I started this conversation off with I can't do shit for you. But, okay. At the end of it, though, she's like, one, will you do the service? And then Ethelrita's mom goes upstairs to Ethelrita's room, and Ethelrita's hanging out with Loy's oldest son, which they had made eyes at each other the previous episode, so I figured that this was going to be a thing. But they're up there hanging out, and she's like, your mom's here for you. So everyone knows this is a thing. Like, Loy's wife knows that he's hanging out there, so she knew where her son was at. I have a theory here, but we'll come back to it.
What's your theory?
We'll come back to it, I think. I'll circle back. So the doctor that Orita poisoned... what are y'all thoughts about the fact that these two kids are hanging out together? Anything?
I don't see an issue. Yeah.
So the doctor that Orita poisoned did not die. She had called the hospital to check on his stats, basically to make sure he was dead. And they told her... Well, they wouldn't even give her any information over the phone. So when she got to work, she's like, hey, where is he at? And then the nurse informs her that he's been moved to a special private facility that specializes in poisoning because he tested positive for strychnine. And she's now looking confused and flustered. And she's like, where is it? She's like, I don't know. They're not telling any of us because it's under investigation because it seems really weird that, he was poisoned and the other, it just seemed weird because of a series of events. So now she's starting to panic.
Caught her slipping.
Yeah. She goes home and immediately starts trying to pack up some stuff. She's clearing out her serial killer closet. And that's when she finds Ethelrita's notebook. She finds that in there. And then she starts looking at the note. And that's when she makes the connection with the handwriting. We hear exactly what Ethelrita wrote in that note. And then we get Nurse Mayflower looking out of the window at Ethelrita as she's coming out of her house. So, yeah, she's mad. Debbie shows up at Loy's house and questions Loy about the trading of his son. Like, how are you so comfortable with trading it? What kind of man trades his kid for power, basically, is how he comes at Loy. And he's like, well, I realized that any man that's willing to do that would be willing to tell me where some strangers that he doesn't give a shit about are. So he pulls the gun on Loy and is like, hey, so where are the chicks at?
He's right, though. That's some real shit. Like, I mean, if you go trade, I'm pretty sure you don't really give a shit about these girls that robbed you.
Yeah. Like, you'd be willing to give them up to keep me out your business. So just tell me where they're at and I'll leave you the fuck alone, basically, was the bargain. And Lloyd's just like, wow. He's like, it's interesting, like, you position that like you gave a shit or like but okay, cool, I'll buy it because you're right. I don't give a shit about them, per se. It's like Lloyd knows he's got enough on his plate right now where he doesn't need to have to deal with that. So he tells them that they're on the 10 o'clock train to Philly and just don't come back to Missouri. Like, just once you get them and you cross state lines, don't come back here. So Duffy heads to the train station where we get this very well shot scene with Zelmare and Sonny kind of just waiting for their train, comfortably hanging out, talking. And once again, we get this ghost that appears. Sonny sees the ghost as she's like getting candy or coming back from getting candy. And then it's clear at this point, like, Zelmare must feel like something's off as well. So she looks around and like she's kind of looking around, observing, and she sees Daffy up there. So at that point she knows, all right, well, shit, the jig's up.
Lloyd, I was thinking Lloyd could have lied just a little bit.
I
guess, yeah, if you give them to him.
Yeah, like you gotta.
We could have lied though. Damn, we could have said 9:30 or.
Yeah.
We could have said 11 o'clock. Damn.
True. But then he would have come but then he would have to deal with him. It's like, let me send them in there, and in worst case scenario, he arrests them, kills them, whatever. I don't give a fuck at this point. I think that like Lloyd's legitimately got enough shit. He probably wouldn't even think about that hard. We then a shootout ensues at the train station. Like Zelmare was just like pulled out her Tommy gun and went ham, just spraying everywhere. And it's in moments like that in shows and movies where you're just like, all right, here's the fake crap, because anyone who just lays down bullets like that, it's just like you're gonna hit somebody, not just your intended targets. But you don't really think about that at that moment. Well,
Wait.
sometimes think about it. Go ahead.
You talking about the cops or her?
I'm talking about her.
She killed a lot of people.
Well, I was about to get there.
Oh, I was about to say. I'm sorry. I thought that's what you're saying. It's worth speaking about that part of the scene when when they locked eyes. She took the lollipop. Damn this lollipop. She looked over at her girl. She gave her one good kiss real quick. You know what I mean? And at the time, I was thinking to myself, you about to pull out a pistol? You know what I mean? Like, y'all about to pull out a pistol? It's like 90 of them. But then when she pulled out that Tommy gun, it was I was rooting for them. Like, I was really rooting for this lady. Like, I was like, yo, I hope that they, and then they didn't even, I was like, damn. I was kind of mad at how Shorty ended up getting shot. That was stupid. Keep going.
Okay, so Otis makes his way inside as he was trying to get out the car. And we see all the dead bodies of all the people that were killed. So we are now to the point of Fargo where people are dying. And you get the miscellaneous caught in the crossfires deaths. And there's a lot of them here. Like, that's a lot of people that got shot. And dead. And at this point, we don't know where Sonny and Zelmare are. And we hear, like, people talking. And, Otis is making his way back. And he gets back there, and it's him, Deffy, and them. And he's like, hey, they ran out of bullet. Fancy that. And then Deffy throws him the handcuffs and says, handcuff him. So he hands Otis his gun. Otis takes it and then shoots him square in the heart. Like, oh, didn't see that going that way. Now I wasn't prepared for that at that moment. So he kills Deffy.
What is the purpose?
We got to get rid of bodies. We only got so many episodes left.
No, I just mean like no.
What you mean with that?
No, I just mean like what was the purpose of her? What is the purpose of him shooting him? Like, was he on some all these dead bodies are because of you? Like, was he on some I'm done having you talk to me like this? You don't tell me what to do. Was that him? They had the whole long thing about him in power. Was that him reestablishing power at the time?
So he had made a comment earlier about someone, and I don't remember who he said, but he made a comment earlier about somebody doesn't want any of this to come back. That these women were here, that this has anything to do with here. He's like, they just want them gone or dead. And he told Deffy that, and Deffy looked at him like, whatever. So I think he knew that at the end of the day, Zelmare and Sonny had to die. Like, they needed to be dead. Like, this whole shit that's been going on in this town needed to be done with because it's been a mess. And he knew Deffy wasn't going to do it. And then he also knew that if he had to kill him, Deffy wasn't going to stand by and let it happen. And then he also knows that Otis is on the take. Like, he also knows that Otis is slightly dirty. So this was Otis's chance to just clean up all of it. Like, I'm just going to get rid of everything that's causing me problems right now.
Now that makes sense.
Like, just
all the birds, one stone.
Yeah, basically. Kill Sonny, shoots her dead in the head, and then he takes his time to shoot Zelmare, and she manages to run past him and get out the train. Like, she runs past him and down the steps. So we don't know. Well, we're gonna see where she's gonna be at now. I love this episode was interesting because, like, right here, I think it faded to black. There was a black pause again. So I was like, okay, was this the end of the episode? It's not the end of the episode. We see Jocelyn and Katana outside their mom's house talking, bonding, and having a good time. And then all of a sudden, all of these guys start coming out of the woods. And it fades to black again. Like, we get another black pause. And I was like, oh, that's how we gonna end it? Nope. Dudes start firing on the fodder guys that are hanging out outside, kill a bunch of them. And then they're making their way towards Gaetano and Josto. And Gaetano protects his brother. He pushes him down, covers him up. And he pulls out his little 2 pistols and starts firing and walking towards, it had to be like about at least 6 guys.
Yeah, that was the most unbelievable scene this whole season.
I understand you out crazy to crazy. But Gaetano is one guy with 2 little guns. And there's like 10 of y'all. And y'all turned around and ducktailed and ran.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, the only thing, I watched it twice. The only thing that I could come up with is the guys who came and ambushed, they shot off most of their shots, and he was the only person that had, because it wasn't like they were hiding behind anything. They were, sitting ducks. So maybe they figured now that you can't reload. I don't know. You didn't bring no more bullets. I don't know. I just know that, like, it looked like maybe they had shot their clip, and now he's the only one that still got bullets. However, I'm not really sure how many bullets he was supposed to really have because he seemed to be shooting for a minute too. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it was all to make Gitano look tough. I've noticed that that's really the only inconsistency like in the show to me is remember what I said to you earlier and when we were talking about the season earlier. I'm like he just appears tough. He hasn't really done anything tough. Like still hasn't quite done anything tough.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, Muscle Man is not, you ain't, I don't know. But I guess that was a reason to show it like that. But it was silly.
So then they hear crying and screaming in the house. They go in the house, and their mom was caught in the crossfire. So now their mom's dead. So now these guys are really angry.
I saw that coming as soon as Gitano and her had that little like, oh, that's his mom moment. That little relief. She's dead.
Again, the miscellaneous people caught in crossfire is building up here. Bodies drop on Fargo. I realize there are people who have not watched any previous season because you don't have to watch the previous seasons and have not watched. There are people who are watching season 4 purely because they put Chris Rock in it and it attracted an audience that wasn't previously watching. So you might not be aware that miscellaneous bodies fall. And now we're seeing that at this point. So
this is like a common thing.
this is a common thing.
Oh, man. Everybody dies on Fargo.
Everybody except for the people who are supposed to die typically die.
Yeah. It's like it's this is the one that's a little bit different. You're right. That because the other ones are like when the show starts, it's always somebody in over their head that has no business doing crime. They're just completely in over their head, but they're trying to make it and they're trying to do something. That's pretty much the first season. That's the second season and the third season. It's always somebody trying to do something that has no business in what they're doing. And it gets completely out of hand with them trying to fix it and trying to, redistribute how they started this thing. And it's an interesting ride. However, this is completely different than those other seasons. The only thing that makes this similar to those other seasons is that it's great acting. It's great execution. This is like one long, great movie. You know what I mean? With a couple of inconsistencies that we've been talking about. However, this show, that's what's consistent about Fargo. All 3 of those seasons are pretty damn good. And this is doing, bringing that same tradition.
It sure is. So overall thoughts about these 2 episodes, guys? How are you feeling?
Looking forward for the next one.
So Armani, you're totally bought into Fargo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Looking forward.
Dexter, thoughts, feelings? Oh, I guess you just kind of.
Yeah, man. I'm feeling what they're doing. I just, the best part, like I said, is that in any anthology type of show, the best part is it's going to end. So, and while I, understand it may continue and they may choose, because, while like I said, I don't subscribe to what you said in the sense of what they're going to do with the next show, because I don't know how they think about doing the next shows, but it would definitely be dope. Those are characters that you could really go back and show us whatever the fuck they did. You know what I'm saying? Because there's some, I was thinking about Zelmir and what's the other one name?
Sonny.
You know what I'm saying? Their characters are like, they have so much depth in the little bit of time that they're on the screen. You know what I mean? Like, even like I said, when I was saying like it's worth looking at Zelmir and how like her mannerisms, like even when her girl got shot, like her face, her everything, like she ran and she knocked him over, like it was all believable because of how they painted this person. You know what I mean? So I don't know, like this is just really great television, and it's interesting that FX just continues to do it over and over again.
I imagine the writer's room for this show, there is a blank board at the beginning of the season or at the beginning of the process, the scripts. Because I don't know, like Grey's Anatomy, I know they write for so many episodes. They film so many, like they're still writing and filming episodes as stuff is airing. So it's developing over the course of the season. Now, this is only 10 episodes, so it might not flow like that. But I can imagine at the beginning of the writing process, as they're fleshing out these stories, this blank board is what can we, like, what possible next season things. So, like I said, Zelmir and Sonny got to have gone on that board. Like, okay, that's a possible thing we can flesh out more of. Or Rita Mayflower's story, that's something we can flesh out more of. fuck, Gaetano's backstory. Like, we could take this to Italy next. Like, so I'm imagining this board in this writer's room with all of these characters who we could, you know, give you, who we're not giving you backstory now. We're not going to, but we've got at least 3 more seasons worth of content in these 3 characters alone. Even if next season it totally goes off somewhere else, because like season 2, like you mentioned, went somewhere else, and then in season 3 we got a character from season 1 back. While it could go very well off somewhere, you have at least 3 more seasons worth of good possible content to come off of this one season. So I mean, for sure.
Yeah, the last thing I want to say is just like what's interesting about this particular show, or any anthology show, but this particular one, because you know that it's gonna open and close. These actors, they're able to score actors that don't normally do shows. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And they're able to score them because they're only being used for those 10 episodes or so. Like the Chris Rock, the Ewan McGregor, the the Billy Bob Thornton from the beginning, the Patrick Stewart on the second season. Like you've got, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Like you got all of these people that don't necessarily do TV shows and that probably don't want to sign on for what a series will create. You know what I mean? But they always get these people, these amazing actresses and actors to do these shows. And like Timothy Oliphant, you know what I'm saying? Is that how you say Oliphant? Whatever his name is. Hitman. You know
Oh, man.
Yeah. That movie's terrible. All right, yeah. But yeah, I'm sure you want Utopia.
Yeah, so
wait. No, what were you saying? What was your theory about?
Oh, Eltharita and the boy?
Yeah.
One of them gonna die, saving the other one. So one of them kids gonna die, saving the other one. Yeah.
I'm very interested in finding it because the best part is yet to come. Like, where is Rabbi?
Yeah. He's gonna make.
And where's Calamita?
Looking for Rabbi, because Gaetano asked that question. He was like, "Where is Calamita? I can't find him." He's like, "I sent him after Rabbi," and that's when he had unfolded like what really happened with that whole shit to Gaetano. And he's like, "I sent him after Rabbi and the kid." So yeah, who the fuck knows? Calamita's in the win, Rabbi's in. I think next episode we'll probably see them next episode. So
yeah.
But if he told Lloyd that Calamita killed his son, then is he setting Calamita up to die?
Yes, he was. He was hoping that Lloyd would maybe send guys after Calamita. Or not hoping. He's anticipating Lloyd would send dudes after Calamita. He would kill Gaetano and kill Calamita. His 2 biggest headaches. At the end of the day, I think he still is cool if Calamita dies. Like, he's cool with keeping his brother around, but I think at the end of the day, Calamita gotta go. That dude had no loyalty whatsoever. But okay, so moving on to Utopia. We've got we are talking about episodes 4 and 5. So episode 4 opened up with the aftermath of the Artemis fight between Jessica. So Ian and Jessica had buried her after she died. They get back to the house and they're telling crew what happened. And there's just these scenes with Jessica where she is just so savage and has no home training. It's like this girl was clearly raised on the streets because she's dirty and she starts spitting on her hand clear off her face. And
in a fully functioning house.
Yeah, in a fully functioning house. And Becky's just like, there's a sink, right? Like, we have water. And just looking at her. And she's like, she's such a heathen. And she's like, well, y'all found Artemis. We found Grant. Jessica meets Grant. And he's such a child. He is a child. And I'm glad that they have, kept this. Because the show is a bunch of adults looking for deeper, darker meaning, or trying to decipher this deeper, darker meaning in this comic book. But this was a child who was reading this comic book. So he's very much still a little kid. She goes at him and he throws his hand, her little starburst symbol on his hand. Because in the comic, I guess that was a symbol of power and the fact that, that's what saved her. And he throws his hand up like that. And it was just such a childlike thing to do in that moment. And she's just like, is that my starburst? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, you want to see the real thing? So she's aware of that. He's a child. However, she wants her book. So that a chase ensues and he climbs his ass out the bathroom window and she's just straight chasing him and everybody's like, yo, Jessica, chill out. He's a child. He's a kid. And she's like, I don't give a fuck. I want the book. So she chases him outside the house and eventually, they're both out there and she's like, all right, there's got to be a better way to deal with this. So she then appeals to his wild side nature. And she was like, look, your clothes are too small. You smell like you haven't bathed in a while. I know what it looks like to not have a family. and to be raised on the streets and be alone or whatever, and I'm trying to help you, or like let me help you. So then there's like this moment where it stops, and it kind of, she realizes you can catch more flies with honey than the aggressive ass way she's doing stuff. So we get Dr. Christie and his son. They're trying to find Michael because they realized like that at first they were trying to keep him at bay, but then they're like, all right, so he's not gonna just sit by and shut up and like let this roll out. So plan B, we got to put plan B into effect, and we need to find this kid. He enlists. Dr. Christie has his son. He tells him to find a way to find Grant. Like, you got to find this kid. Who's this kid or whatever? And he goes into this meeting with these people, and they're sitting around coming up with ideas to flush out Grant. That include shooting up a school, shooting up a park. It's like they're like, we don't really know who he is, so we can't just like put out a Amber Alert for the kid or whatever. And it's just like, wow, these people are crazy.
This is when I was like, this show really does not care.
Yes. So like, Dexter, back to your point about we don't kill kids on TV. Utopia. So we realize he made the comment is made, do we have a familiar at home? And I'm still at this point not realizing what home is. I'm just like, they keep saying this, but what is home? So then we see Arby goes to this school, and I just thought he like went into a random school and was like, hey, that kid kind of looks like him. Let me borrow that kid. And the lady's like, well, is he coming back? And that's when, you know, Arby made the comment, if he listens. It's like, what is going on here? So we see Arby take this kid, and he dresses him up like Grant, and he gives him a gun, and then sends him into this house. Like, we see them pull up at this house, and they go inside, and we see the kid touch stuff. So it's very purposeful. So it's like, wow, they're gonna go in and just kill a random family. At first I thought it was a random family, but then on the second watch of this episode, I realized that no, the chick that was opposing Thomas when they were having this meeting, because she was just like, I don't think we should go about this way. Like, I don't feel like killing a bunch of people, a bunch of innocent people, is the right way to do this. Like, she was opposed to the murdering situation.
More so because it was kids, because they were just, that's how they were aiming.
Yeah, and she was like not feeling it, and Thomas was like, all right, well, maybe you're right. He sends them to her house. So she's got a house full of children. And you realize, okay, I'll come back to it. But he sends them into her house with these kids. And Arby goes in there and you realize, it clicked for me when she heard the noise and she was just like, Arby. So she also knew, like, all right, something's off. And he's the person that if someone's going to do, he's clearly the cleaner of this grand scheme of things. So she knew, like, oh, shit. And he goes in there and he killed her and all the kids that were in there. He shot babies.
A literal baby at that. Like, that.
Hey, man. We didn't know that baby. See, that's the part that you misconstrued. We don't know that baby. We know at the reader. We don't know that baby. They can shoot miscellaneous kids. Not gonna kill the little beautiful black 17-year-old baby. They would never. You guys are crazy. Now you're right though. They will kill that son. They'll kill that son in a second. They'll kill that son twice. But they wasn't gonna kill that little boy neither. I knew they wasn't gonna kill that little boy Satchel. Sorry.
Oh. But so some shows are not beyond killing children. Utopia is one of them. Backing up to the crew, what they were doing. So they are trying to decipher the numbers that they found under Artemis's fingernails. And it turns out, which I don't understand, if you give me 7 numbers or 10 numbers, I'm immediately going to think it's a phone number. Like, the first thing I'm going to do is like, it's a phone number. They were going all over the place, which kind of goes to the fact that these people are so smart, they're stupid sometimes. Because they were trying to figure out, did it mean all these other things? And then finally was like, oh, wait a minute, is it a phone number? Let's call it. They call the phone number, and that leads to an officer at Homeland Security. Enter Sonia San.
Oh, yeah.
The Wire.
I knew that would get you.
She is Agent Milner, and at first it's like, I don't know who y'all are. I'll get off, stop playing on my phone. And they hang up, and they're like, well, that was a dead end. But then she immediately calls them back, and she's like, hey, as soon as you called me, it triggered the hive, and you need to get out of there. Y'all not safe. So go to this address. She gives them an address to go to. They go into, let's burn this. We got to burn this house down. We got to get out of here. So as they're leaving, Jessica then like stops on the side of the road. She's like, no. Let's stop. She gets out the car and she's like, y'all go. y'all figure this out since this part is y'all plan. If you make it back, then let me know. If y'all don't make it back, tell them I'm dead. Like, don't, like, she decides, like, she's not about to go into this situation blind. She's going to send in the expendable meat, essentially.
This entire time, too. It's like we're 8 episodes in and she has not got any kind of relationship with these people.
No, barely. Barely. So then Becky, who, she reads Jessica well. She then tells Grant, get out the car. You're going to stay with her. Because she's like, all right, you might be wrong. You might be right. You're right about this. Like, this, we don't know what's going to happen here. We could die. And then she's like, no, if they torture you, tell them I'm dead. And then poor Wilson's like, nope, I've had my fill of torture. I'm going to get out too. I'm going to stay here because I'm good on that shit.
I proved my strength.
Yeah. So Jessica, Grant, and Wilson get out the car, and Ian and Becky continue on to this address, which turns out to be an old Toys R Us. Nice little nostalgia point. So these two, we've been seeing them building up this relationship between these two kind of organically, even though there was a conversation of, even if we're not, together, when he told her, even if you're not my girlfriend, you still make me like better or whatever. You make me want to be stronger or whatever. So these two are still very much a team, a unit that I'm not mad at watching do things together. Does that make sense? I'm hoping neither one of them dies. Like, I would like them to survive to the end. So they get there, they meet with her, and she tells them the rundown about the hive and Mr. Rabbit and how this whole... So this episode, we get a lot of quick backstory as far as what the fuck we've been watching. This whole thing started off as a bunch of scientists trying to create a biological weapon, and some scientists inside that decided they were going to do their own damn thing. And here we are. So she breaks that down. And she's like, look, y'all ain't got Jessica. I ain't got nothing else for y'all. And then, like, dips. And they're just like, can we come with you? She's like, no. I'm good. No.
Yeah, I don't know, y'all.
Basically. So in this episode, again, we get just we get the backstory on how this all started. And they leave and they head back to Jessica with not a lot more information than they started with, essentially. Or a little bit more information. She tells them basically that she wants Jessica because Jessica is probably the only person who can identify Mr. Rabbit because she's seen him when she was a child, or because she's seen him. Whatever. Like, was this where she told him that?
Yeah.
So that's essentially it. So they go back to Jessica and they're trying to tell Jessica, hey, you have probably, like, you know who he is. You just don't know you know who he is. Episode 5. So this episode was kind of crazy. Like, this is when the real crazy starts to get kicked up a lot. It starts off with Michael making his way to the camp where it's isolated and they don't want anyone to get in because his flu is going crazy or whatever. And he manages to get himself and this guy named Dale from the previous episode into the camp because Dale said that his daughter was in there and he wants to make sure his daughter's okay. But he also said he's a doctor, so he made himself useful as well. Not just, my kid's in there. He gave Michael a reason to really, like, get him in there and help him out. So they get in there. He sees his daughter and she's sick and she's dying. Dale makes this plea to help his daughter. It's like, you've come all this way. You want to test it. I'm giving you permission to test it on my child. Because it's like, if she don't, she's going to die. If she do, she could live. Like, there's no harm in testing it on a person, which is what he's been hesitant to do. So he's like, all right, cool. Let's draw some blood so we get a baseline for the antibodies. And he leaves. And then all of a sudden, we see what the fuck is really going on. There's a twin. Like, there's 2 of these girls. This whole fucking thing is a setup. I don't even think we even need to deep dive into this episode. Let's just talk about it from an elevated level. This whole thing is a setup.
Swap that bitch.
Yeah.
For girl.
So, this episode, we quickly learn how dark Dr. Christie's mind is and what is really the fuck going on here.
I have a question for you guys. Was it evident for y'all that Dr. Christie was Mr. Rabbit from, like, episode 1?
I said it pretty early on. I think he's the rabbit. I said it the moment RB showed up at his back door the first time. I was he's Mr. Rabbit. Because he came off as this super altruistic doctor that's got this rainbow tribe of kids, and then a serial killer you feed raisins. Nah, that shit ain't normal. Like, I saw that very early. But then there was a moment where I questioned whether or not he was Mr. Rabbit or whether or not he was Jessica's dad.
Okay, I can see
that. So I was like, wait, which one is it? But yeah, I called him Mr. Rabbit thing from very early on. So we quickly see.
I'm slow.
You didn't?
I
You
didn't
said
because I'm a little off. I didn't know what I was watching episode. Then I had to go back and watch it again, like all of that again. And now I wasn't, when you're saying in the first episode that I think he was Mr. Rabbit. I didn't know who or what Mr. Rabbit was. I didn't know what Utopia was until they started chasing the boy. And I was like, oh, it's a book. Got it. Damn, I missed everything. Let me go all the way back. But it's just one of those things where you watch things and you're not really ready to watch it sometimes. You still watching it because you can kind of follow it, but then you realize like, wait, what? And it's like, you better go back and watch it. You about to talk about it? Let's go back and watch it. So yeah. I did think though he was likely the rabbit because they don't have a true antagonist in the show except for his creepy ass and the killers. And it's like the killers are always sent from someone, so it had to be him. I think it just had to be him. It wasn't a surprise when like RB and him met. You were like, oh, duh. You know what I mean? Because like they do a good job at showing who's evil. Like the kid who played Riddler, who plays his son,
Thomas. Yeah.
Like you can tell that he's like you just tell like when you watch him like
he just looks evil.
Mm-hmm. He does that very well. Dale was a plant. These girls are plants. We learn that home essentially is a farm of children. And this whole thing has been planned out and has been mapped out. So these are the different avenues. We're going to get this virus out. Like this is endgame. We don't technically at this point know what endgame was or is, but this is endgame. And these are the different avenues we'll take to go there. Like this was a really well thought out, mapped out plan. And now we're taking the avenue of, okay, so in order to get to the final destination, we have to get this cure we have to get people to want this cure. And how do we do that? Well, we have these twin girls we have these kids that we're going to inject one with the virus and we're going to swap them. And so twins have a purpose. Like twins have had a purpose. So the home is a farm, a breeding farm for the purpose of this mission of Endgame. So they inject one girl, she dies. They give her the cure and they swap her with the other twin. And poor Dale is just like, I raised y'all. And then new Charlotte is just like, you weren't supposed to get attached. Like you were just supposed to be our caregiver. And you shouldn't even have gave us names, or they shouldn't have gave us names. And he was like, I named you. She's like, well, you shouldn't have did that then. Because, we have our purpose and this was our purpose and our destiny is to just fulfill that. And he's clearly like not liking it, which most adults with common sense will probably be like, this isn't I don't like, a kid's got to die.
It's like raising puppies.
Yeah, you're raising puppies or raising pigs and one of them's got to go to make bacon. Yeah, unfortunately. And it works. Like they swap and they think that they've cured it. And then all of a sudden now they go on camera with like this girl has healed. She's recovered. No one's recovered from this previously. We've got this vaccine. We need to get it out. And of course the FDA is like, nope, it needs to be tested. We got to do things the proper way. There's a proper way to do this. And Dr. Christie throws on his work and he uses the crowd to, they start chanting free the vaccine. And they know that stressed out parents were definitely the play for this. Like if this had been a bunch of random adults that were dying from this, nobody gave a shit.
Yeah, they'd have been like, population control.
Basically. But they knew that when you are dealing with children dying, you've got a lot of emotions and people are going to want movement and solutions. So that was the play this whole time. And that's where we're at now with it. So while that's going on, they're still trying to figure out where the rest of Utopia is. And they ask Grant, and Grant's like, I left it with a friend. And Jessica's like, well, you got to take me there so we need the book. Well, he starts taking Jessica to Alice and her mom. At the same time, the whole news thing is coming out as far as what Grant allegedly did. They're making their way to Alice's house at the same time. Arby is makes his way to Alice's house. And he gets in there and he's like, where's Utopia? And the mom's like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. We didn't really know this kid or whatever. And Alice is like, I got it. So she tells him that she's got it. She goes and gets the book. She brings it to Arby. And he's like, thank you. And then shoots her mother. And I was just like, see, I had a feeling. Like, you just can't be
a kind black woman on TV.
No. It's never worked out for you at all. So he shoots her.
I've seen her in 3 roles, and she gets taken advantage of in all 3 of them. She's in the Tyler Perry show, and like I said, the kid who played Diamond was her son, and he was like the good kid, but like their daughter was like the meanest person that I've ever seen on TV. You know what I'm saying? Victoria Grayson, yo. You know what I'm saying? Like, she was serious. And then she was also, so y'all didn't see the other movie. I want to say it's a Tyler Perry where she meets this young man and Felicia Rashad is in the movie and he like befriends her. And then like, as soon as he marries her, he starts like abusing the shit out of her. Y'all never seen that?
No, it does not.
It sounds familiar.
It's on Netflix. It's a Netflix Tyler Perry movie. So like that's why it was a big deal. You know how like when
was that the one with the terrible wig swap? Like the terrible editing?
Yeah, it's worth the watch.
Got it.
It's worth the watch when she hits that nigga with the bat.
Arby kills the mom and he has to go on Alice and she's crying and he tells her to stop. And then he doesn't shoot Alice though. He takes her in the kitchen and he starts making sandwiches and making food or whatever. And then Jessica and Grant show up. Jessica and Arby are going back and forth kind of hand to hand. And it's clear that these two are evenly matched. And there's really not going to be a winner in this fight. And he tells her that. He's like, we could just keep going. We could just keep doing this. Or you could stop and like, let me help you.
Or we could use our words.
Yeah. It's like, oh, now Arby wants to use words, huh? And they stop. And it was clear when him and Dr. Christie had the conversation where Dr. Christie straight up told him, you are just a pawn in this. No one really cares about you, to the point where you don't even really have a name. Like, the name Arby was a joke because you liked raisins. So Raisin Boy was a joke.
He like started cutting into him so
yeah,
hard.
And it was just like
no one loves you.
Yeah, like no, like you don't, like no one. We kept you from love because we knew what we wanted to use you for.
Raisin Boy.
Shit. Yeah.
So did I expect you have an ambition?
Yeah. So it was just like at that moment is when Arby's started to have his own, like, okay, I have a choice here. Like, I have some choices. I can make some different choices. And at this moment is when he decided that he no longer wanted to kill Jessica. He wanted to help her. Because he looked at Utopia. And when he was going to give her the book, he was like, I don't know if you really want to see this. But he was like, here, if you do. Like, here. And you might want to eat before you do. And that's why he had made the sandwiches for her. And he gives her the book. And he tells her, like, if you ever need me, you can find me at home. And he leaves. And she's just like, well, where the fuck is home? Because she still don't know where home is at this point. Yeah, that's where we're at now. Like, Arby has had a complete change of what his directive is now. And he wants to help Jessica. Jessica's got the book. Alice is an orphan. Out here in this world now. Essentially, we've got the real meat and potatoes of what is going on with this show for the most part. So, Dexter? What do you think of Utopia? Or like, what are your feelings at this point?
I like it. It's a good show. It's a very unique way of doing a show. It's a lot going on, and I don't think that traditional TV watchers, I don't think that everybody is gonna like it. Because it has a lot going on. And like I said, I didn't even know what was going on. You know what I'm saying? We're on episode 5 and you're like, yeah, we just finally found out like what's really, really going on. If you're into that type of thing where you can actually, just like your daughter said the other day, it's something that you can just watch and enjoy it, then it's a great show. If you're looking at it differently, you need to give it a chance, you know what I'm saying? Because it is a good show. It has a lot of different characters and way. Like, I don't know, this is not a traditional show. It's very, very abstract in the way that everything is done. However, it's dope and high quality. Very interesting. Y'all don't think it's weird?
Oh, it's weird as fuck, for sure. I mean, everything about the show is weird. This is definitely the weird fun show, but I'm starting to think Amazon does weird fun well. Like, weird dark fun. Amazon is good at creating it and or finding it and remaking it, because this is a remake. Mm-hmm. And The Boys was original. The Boys was weird dark fun. So I think that might be Amazon's lane, is weird dark fun.
Weird dark fun. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a time where weird dark fun is done at a high quality, now. I think that, weird dark fun has always been for horror movies, for, I guess what some would call low level cinema. You know what I mean? But now we're getting weird stuff from great people. You know what I mean? Like we're getting weird stuff from. It just seems like I think now that we're in this era where we have the Amazon, we have the HBO Maxes, and we have the well, not HBO Max, I guess, but like the Netflix, the Amazon, the Hulus. Like we're getting all this original content that people will actually watch, and it's like before you only can put like you had to stay within the perimeters of ABC, NBC, Fox, like or one of those shows because you had to when you did something you had to envision where it's going to go, and if they didn't pick it up you kind of were fucked. You know what I'm saying? But now it's like you can kind of make whatever you want to make and then you can find a place for it. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't necessarily have to be put on Channel 6 anymore where like what do you call it? Little Million Fires Everywhere is on Hulu. You know what I mean? And you have Ratchet on Netflix, and then you have something like The Boys on Amazon Prime. I mean, like it's very interesting how content lands now, and people just have to take a chance on you. And I don't know. I just feel like we're getting better content as overall now because of how many avenues you can kind of pitch your stuff to.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. So that's it. So yeah, Utopia is still a hell of a ride. We're enjoying it, and I can't wait to get to the end to see how it wraps up. And look forward to season 2. Sleepers. Armani, what's your sleeper?
My sleeper is called Kim's Convenience. Kim's Convenience, and it's one of those like fun satire comedy shows, and it circles around an Asian family that owns a and basically it's focused on their first generation daughter growing up and trying to like navigate Korean family and trying to navigate her Korean tradition while also being American. So they're cute. It's actually real funny.
It's a comedy?
Yeah, it's kind of like that dark, raunchy comedy, honestly.
Okay. Is it like, you're as you're saying that, like, I'm thinking of Unbreakable Kimmy.
Yeah, it's along those lines. Like, the first episode is, like, gay pride's going on, and the gay guy walks in, and he's like, gay discount. Yeah, you get gay discount.
Okay. All right. That's cool. I need to find some more comedy. I need some comedy in my life right now.
My sleeper is comedy.
What's your sleeper, Dexter?
My sleeper is Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso is a show on Apple Plus. It's only on Apple Plus. It's, how you say his name? Jason Sudeikis?
Jason Sudeikis.
Sudeikis. He plays a former coach, not of soccer, but he is a former coach that won a championship in the past. And basically there is a woman who owns a soccer organization, and it used to be her husband's, and I think her husband died, and she hires this guy who's never ever coached soccer at all to do this whole overhaul of this team. And she really wants it to fail, you know what I mean? Because she doesn't care about her ex. So she literally hired somebody with the intentions to fail. It's hilarious stuff. I didn't watch a lot of it, so I'm going to assume that he starts winning. You know what I mean? That will make the show, But it's an interesting show. It's on Apple Plus, check it out. Sleeper.
Okay. Armani, where's your sleeper? Is it on Netflix?
Netflix.
Okay. My sleeper this week is BuzzFeed Unsolved, which can be found on Amazon. It's been around for a little while. It is hosted by two gentlemen, Ryan Bergara and Shane Madge. They're the two main hosts. They do all kinds of just unsolved things through history. I like history shows sometimes, or like smart, like fun history stuff. And this is pretty cool because they'll just take different mysteries throughout time, and they'll actually go to places and try to backtrack steps and like look. But the two hosts have just very different. Like one's very either this is real and it happened or just didn't happen, whereas the other one, Ryan, who's my favorite out of the two, is always like, maybe there's ghosts. There's got to be some paranormal thing. Like there's ghosts. And it's just like, what the fuck? No. There's no ghosts involved in this.
Is this the one where a portion of it, they start off like talking at a desk?
Yes. Yeah. We watched a lot of this together, and we watched it. So it's a great fun show. If you like, And it's not like all like crimes and things like that. They're just like hidden treasure, like a story of a hidden treasure somewhere. So they went to that location. They tried to fucking find it. And they went through this mountain, and they kind of talk about why this could make no sense, but we're going to look for it based on the location that the story says where it should be, type of thing. So it's a fun little show. I like it a lot. Yeah, that's my sleeper. Got anything else?
Nope. I think that's a podcast.
That is a podcast. So if you've continued to listen to this show, if you've listen to us rattle off about things for more than one episode at this point, please like, rate, subscribe to this here podcast. Share this podcast with a friend. If on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and scroll down to where it says like more episodes, and then scroll all the way down and drop us a rating. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think about this podcast, especially if you've hung around a little bit. So we appreciate it. Until next time, take care of yourselves and be good to each other.